Hi, this is Ant from Speakerstack Music. This is video 4 in a sequence of videos where we're going to be building a song from scratch, and in today's video we're going to be focusing on the bass synth. So if we go into Live, Ableton Live, you'll see that I've already dropped a channel in a few videos ago which we've called Bass Synth, so that's ready for us now to drop an instrument into. But as per the drums, there's nothing in that channel at the moment. We need to tell it what instrument we want it to play back to us, what sound we want it to play back to us. So we're going to go into the instruments, the instrument library of sounds, and I'm going to go into the instrument drop down menu here, which gives you all the synthesizers and virtual instruments. And I'm going to be accessing the simpler set of sounds, going into the bass synth drop down, and I'm going to be adding in the wonk bass. So again, you just click on that, drag it across to the bass synth channel or bass synth track, drop it in, and there you go. You see the instrument is dropped into the bottom section there. So Ableton now knows what sound it's going to play back to you. But again, if we click on any sections of that track, you'll see there's nothing in there. So each of the individual clips has no notes in at the moment. We need to tell it what MIDI information we want Ableton to play back to us through that track, through that channel. So very similarly to the drums, we need to play in something for it to play back. And I explained in a previous video there are a number of different ways you can play notes into Ableton. There are three ways, I think, three predominant ways. Essentially, you can play them in through a MIDI keyboard, a MIDI controller, which I'm going to do today. Alternatively, you can actually go into the clip. If we open up the clip here, and you can draw in. Just click on the draw icon there. You can draw in the individual notes into it, much in the same way that we did with building up a beat. But you can also play the notes in on your computer keyboard. If you click on this icon here, you can actually then use the keys on your computer keyboard, and each of the keys on that keyboard corresponds to a particular note. But for the purposes of today, I'm going to play the notes in. So before we play the notes in, there's a really useful function in Ableton Live which enables you to play the notes in on time, and it's called the quantize function. So if you go to the edit menu and then drop down to record quantization, you'll see you get another drop down menu with a number of different options in terms of what parameters you want to use to set that quantization at. And this really depends on how many notes you want to play in, whether there are any notes on the offbeats you want to play in. So we're going to play it safe because we do want something that's going to be a little bit offbeat as we kind of move forward. So I'm going to go to 16th note, just move off, 16th note triplets quantization. So we'll just click on that, and that's now set on the channel. So anything I play in, hopefully, will be on the beat and in time. And it just saves going back in after you've played something in. Because even if you really practice, you're never going to play it perfectly in, and you're always going to have to go back in and slightly move each of the notes, and it's a real headache. So use the record quantization function. It just makes it all a lot easier. So let's proceed and play some notes in. So the first thing to do is to click and create a clip, which we're going to do here. There we go. And that probably looks familiar from when we played in the drums. But I know that this is going to be a lengthier clip. We don't really want a short loop. We want something where we can play a longer sequence of notes. So we actually have to go into the clip view, and we can actually increase the length of the clip. So I'm actually going to increase that to 4 bars just to give us a little bit of room to play in something that's a bit different. And it also means that as we take that loop, that clip, moving forward into the other parts of the song, we can build on that and make more interesting arrangements as we move forward. So I've increased the length of it. We've got the record quantization set up. We're on the clip. The next thing is just to test the sounds okay, because when you drop in a preset into a channel, it may not be at the right octave that you need. So let's just sample the sound and see how it's coming out. Okay, so that's coming out as a higher octave, so I'm going to reset the octave on that. There you go. That's a lot better. That's something we can work with. We want something for a bass synth in some of the kind of the lower frequency, lower octave ranges. So we're going to set it at that octave level for the time being. We can always change it at a later date. And then the next thing you click on is the session record button. So what that is telling Ableton is to record into the clip that you've got selected and the track that you've got armed down here. And we've got the drum track there to hopefully give us a bit of rhythm, a bit of a beat to play along to. And we've also got a lead-in metronome, so we will have a count in before we start recording. Okay, so we've recorded some notes in. I'm just going to double check that they are on the beat and that quantization function has worked. It's looking pretty good. And you can see that each of those notes is aligned to the section of the bar that's numbered in the top part of the clip view. Great, so we've actually got a bit of an intro there that we can work with. And we've got it set to 4 bars long. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that down into the verse section. And we're just going to build on that a little bit. So we just want to do something that's a little bit more interesting in the verse, just to give it a bit more definition. So I am going to use the draw function now rather than playing notes in on top of what I've got. You can play notes in on top, but I like to record them in and then I go in and I draw additional notes on top of it. So I'm going to click on the draw function. I'm just going to add another note in here, which you can, if you hover over, just drag and make a little bit longer. So let's just see how that sounds for the verse. Okay, so we've got another note in there, and because it's 4 bars long and you've got a loop of sound there that actually goes around twice, you'll see that in the second section of the note we didn't repeat that, so it just gives it a bit more variety as you're playing things in. So I'm going to keep it at that. But one thing I did notice is that because I've drawn the note in, the volume of the note is slightly higher. So there is a section at the bottom of the clip that deals with the volume of each note. And you'll see that these are the, if you click on each of the corresponding notes, you bring up an icon down here which tells you what the volume is. So you can see the volume of that note I just drew into the clip is a lot louder. So I'm just going to even that out a little bit. And I think the rest of the notes look about right. So we're starting to build the song up. We've got something for the verse there. And I'm going to copy that, paste that down into the build-up section. So for the build-up section, I think we just need to include some more notes just to give it more of a sense of urgency. If we do that, we can actually see the entirety of what we've recorded. So we've got 2 notes at the start there, and then a pattern that repeats. So I think what I'm going to do is add in a few more notes on that second section just to mix things up a bit, and again I'm going to draw them in, so bear with me. I'm hoping that I'm doing these on the right notes. We can always go back in and adjust if it's not the case. And again, we know the volume's going to be higher on these because we've drawn them in. So we're just going to lower that a little bit. We're just going to see how that sounds, adding a few more notes in that build-up section. Yeah, that sounds okay, but I think I can improve that a little bit just by dropping a note in at the end of the previous section, just to give it a little bit of urgency and move the sound on to the next clip. So I'm going to click on that and just drag it across to here, and we'll just see if that makes a difference. So that's sounding a bit more like what I'm trying to achieve, which is in that second part of the clip, which is just putting a note in there to roll the sound on and actually progress the instrument within that section. What I'm now going to do is just copy that verse section down to the other part of the verse, and we've got a build up. We haven't really got anything for the chorus. So again, let's use what we've already played in, copy it into the chorus section, and then expand on that, put more notes in. So let's just remind ourselves what we've got in there. Okay, great. So I've just adjusted the volume on the shaker, and I think this is a good thing to get into the habit of doing as you're working in Ableton. If you see something, within the sound that's not quite right, then adjust it as you're working. Just be on top of that kind of ongoing admin of the song. So labeling the tracks, making sure the panning's right, adjusting the volume. You're constantly mixing the track as you're working on it to get the sound volume correct. So for the chorus clip, again, I'm going to click on this part of the song. I'm going to add in some more notes just to progress the sound a little bit. So if we click on this top section and drag your mouse up, you can see the entirety of what you've got. You've got two looping sections there in the entirety of the clip. It's 4 bars long. So I think I'm going to put something in that middle bit, just to give it a bit more variety, and give the chorus section more definition. And I'm going to take this note out, and I'm going to draw in some notes that just move the sound on a little bit. Just roll those back a little bit. Let's just see how that sounds. Okay, it's not quite what I was looking for. Let's just drag that back a bit. It's just happening a little bit too late, that note. Just see if that makes a difference. Okay, that's more like what I'm looking for, but again, I just think some of those notes could be looked at in terms of length. So if you look at the other notes, they're all quite long. So I'm just going to increase the length of that note and increase the length of these notes. Let's just see how that sounds. Okay. So again, we've drawn those notes in, so I'm just going to go back in and lower the volume. Just decrease the length of those notes ever so slightly, just to give it a little bit more definition between each note. Great stuff. And now we've actually got the chorus clip. Again, like with the verse clip, I'm going to copy and paste what we've got for the chorus clip into the other two choruses that we've got there. In the current structure of the song, obviously we can rearrange these clips, move the structure of the song around as we want it, but this is just a loose format that we want to work in. And I'm actually going to copy the chorus clip across into the middle 8. There we go. So there we go. We've actually got a bass synth track set up. We've recorded some notes into a number of different clips. We've got a little bit of variety in those notes within each clip, so that we can say that that bit relates to a verse, that bit relates to a chorus, that bit relates to a middle 8. I'm just going to drop in those intro notes into the ending, and I'm not going to preview everything, I'm not going to play back everything, but let's just have a quick listen to the build up and the chorus just to see how it all fits together. Great stuff. So there we go. We have created a bass synth instrument and played in that part of the song. So that concludes video 4, which is looking at the bass synth. In the next video, video 5, I'm going to be adding in some rhythm guitar. So thank you for listening and viewing. If you like the content, please like the video and please subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next video.